Hi, this is Alpha from Money Made Simple, and welcome to another one of my money tools tips videos. Today's topic will be on saving. We've spoken previously about retirement, so superannuation, and also about debt. And today we'll go into what's the beauty of compounding interest when it works for you. So I'll share my screen and show you one of the some of the calculators that are available. So here we've got compound interest calculator. This is again on the Money Smart website. You can see the address in the toolbar up there. There are some pretty good calculators available, and some that are a little bit unnecessary. But I've picked the ones that I think are quite useful and actually add value. So for compounding interest, this is just to help with when you're saving. To give you an idea of what you can sort of expect to start with and end with, etc. And the key to saving really is just start and be consistent. So if you can automate it and set up a regular savings plan, so much the better, because then you don't have to think about it. The money just kind of disappears automatically, preferably the day you get paid or the day after, so that it's gone, not there, can't be used. And it's a really good starting point for a lot of things. You know, if you want to save for a car, you want to save your deposit for your house, you want to save to invest as well, because it's very difficult to invest with just $1 or $2. While there are micro investing apps out there and there's more opportunities, it is still good to start with something. So saving for me has always been a really important part of the money pie, so to speak. I'll actually talk about that a bit later on as well. It's what I use to help me structure and manage my saving and money, so that I know where things are going and I know how much I've got left to do things with. So we'll get started onto the compound interest calculator, and let's just assume we start with $1,000. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long to pull that together. It might take a few months, but if you can get that together, that at least we'll start with that. And if you can then commit to another $200 each month, then on a monthly basis, and if you consider, say, 5 years, it might, for a house deposit, it might take, well, much, it will probably take longer than that. But if you want to save for a car, for example, depending on the car, 5 years is probably the amount of time we can kind of visualize for a purchase like that. And because interest rates on earning income interest at the moment aren't that great, I've made this 2%. This is probably more likely a term deposit style interest rate. But it's really, it's not going to be overly fantastic at the moment. But let's see. And I've got two scenarios going here. But your initial deposit of $1,000, you've got regular deposits, which are mounted up to $12,000. There's a bit of interest there, and you end up with nearly $14,000. Now, if you think about, if you did nothing, 5 years later, you wouldn't have that money. So it's better to do something than to do nothing, because that $14,000 would have probably just got whittled away. So it's just that, again, that consistency that I talked about. And I've just tweaked it, made it sort of an alternative scenario here, where instead of $200 a month, it's $300 a month you've added in, and that's given an extra, six and a half or six, just nearly $7,000. So it's just an extra $100 a month makes quite a difference, and that's that beauty of compounding. It goes from like this, the increases start to build momentum. And it's great. So you could definitely buy a car for that. So if that's your goal, and again, it's good to have a goal, because to save, it's a bit like learning a language. If you don't have a reason to do it, or like me, I've always wanted to learn French. I went to the French school and started to learn. It was great. But then I was kind of lost the impetus, because I didn't have anyone to talk to. There was no need to speak French. I wasn't planning a trip to France, so you just kind of like dwindles away, and now I've forgotten pretty much everything I learned. So you need to have a goal of some sort that's something potentially tangible to help motivate you, give you a reason for doing it. So that's compound interest. I'll move on to the budget planner here. It's the word budget, I know it just makes most people cringe, myself included. I don't have a budget that I focus on every month or even every 6 months. It's something that I've done properly probably once. And then I kind of look at it once a year. I keep an eye on it, because I can see, my credit card bills every month, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's getting a bit high. And then things just start to creep onto your credit card. You signed up for this, during, lockdowns, I've signed up for this streaming for my daughter, and I've signed up for this activity. And then after a while, you're like, oh, we don't even use that anymore, and I'm paying $13 a month for it. So it's good to kind of review that every now and then and go, okay, well, I'm paying for something I'm not using. I'll just cancel it and get rid of it. So it's a good test to see if it's useful. So that's the only way I really use a budget. You can have budgeting apps that help, but it's a bit like being on a diet. You don't really want to be reminded of it on a regular basis. You don't kind of want to feel too constrained that you're going to miss out on things. So that's my philosophy for life, really. I don't really like to feel too constrained. And I don't know many people who do. So if strict budgets work for you, go for it. This is a good way to at least give yourself an overall picture of your finances. Sometimes it can be a, oh boy moment. You're like, geez, I spent a lot on that. Or, wow, I'd forgotten about that. So anyway, so in this calculator, I've pre-populated and assumed quite a lot of things, but let's just say $10,000 of household income. It could be yours, it could be your partner's, it could be both. My husband and I keep our finances relatively separate, and that's always worked for us. But I'm aware that's not how the majority of households do it. So, and you don't need to be too accurate. If you just want to put a number in there, you don't need to fill out every box. That's fine. Home and utilities is a large chunk of the expenses. Obviously, if you're paying rent, or you've got a mortgage, whatever those in there. If you own a home, the rates, furniture and appliances, there's usually something that breaks in a year. We've had nearly every appliance in this house break since we bought it 4 years ago. So we've definitely used up our allocation for furniture and appliances and renovations. Electricity, if you have gas, water, etc. So you can fill those in to suit yourself. Insurances and other things. So there's so many insurances around at the moment. Car, house, contents, life insurance, other personal insurances. Some of these will often be in your super fund. I personally have mine outside. I have reasons for that, which I won't go into today. But yeah, so if you do, that's where you pop them. Groceries, it's getting more and more expensive to feed families these days. And there's opportunities if you just do it all at the supermarket, just chuck that in there. But if you do go to the butcher or the deli or the fish shop, etc., you can split that out. Then there's personal and medical, and that's, us ladies, we buy makeup, we have toiletries that probably cost more than what men spend. So you put all that in there. We go to the hairdresser. There's usually some sort of medication. I wear contact lenses, so I factor that in. So either a new pair of glasses, which are often covered by health insurance anyway, but the contacts, I still have a gap payment. Dental, doctors, etc., even hobbies and clothing and so forth. So try and be as realistic as you can there, because it does add up over a year. Entertainment and eating out. So this is not about stripping everything away. It's the fact that you can't have any fun. You can still have your coffee each day on your way to work. You can still buy lunch every now and then as well. Like it's not about completely living a very barren life. It's still trying to build the fun that you want into it's about lifestyle, not just about denial of fun. Because that's what's the point. We all want to have fun. I mean, we all want to be happy, and fun helps make us happy. So I'm a big believer in factoring money into the budget for fun. And, if you want to go out for a drink, you're at restaurants. So yeah, holidays, extremely important. Always good to have a holiday on the horizon. Transport cars, they're not cheap either. So there's a whole lot of expenses that go with that. And children, they're also not cheap. Toys, depending how old your children are. Childcare, also depending how old they are. Activities are not cheap either. They have excursions either during school holidays or through school. Even school uniforms, they're really not that cheap either. So make sure you factor all that in. And in this particular scenario, ended up with just over $5,000 excess, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's better than nothing. We factored a lot of things into this budget, and that $5,000 could get put aside and invested, or you can have other things to do with it. So it's better to have left over than be living beyond your means, because that's the kiss of death, really, when it comes to money. You want to be able to live within your income boundaries. Otherwise, you've got to go earn more income or cut your expenses. One of the two. That's the only way you can really balance your scales. And this just gives you a little bit of an outline. Is obviously most of it sitting in home. It's 36% there. And the insurance aspect too is another 10%, and then groceries. So there's a lot of non-discretionary items that are taking over more than 50% of that budget. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment and then switch over to what I call the money pie. I'll just come back into here. So it's it's a variation. So the budget kind of works with what you've got and splits your money out that way. The way I do this is actually kind of starting from a different direction, where I think, okay, around about 60% of my income. So if I can try and squeeze all of the expenses I've got and the debt repayments that I have into the 60%, if I can't, I have to figure out how I can change something. So either increase the income or decrease the expenses in order to make that happen. So, but it doesn't have to be 60%. It might be a total, like you might not have the ability to do the 10% invest, so it might be 70% spend for a while, and then once you get your debt down to a point where you can start to save for investing, your pie adjusts again. So this is just a guide, but these are the buckets that I like to have, and I actually have a different bank account for each of these. Some are high interest. I know that might sound overkill and a lot of admin. It's actually not that bad. I used the ING Savings Maximizer, and you can actually have multiple accounts kind of sitting under the one profile. So it actually makes it easier to manage. But for me, I need to have them in those different buckets. Otherwise, I'm likely to just spend it. So I know what I'm like, and I create structures around my saving to help support the way I work. And I would suggest you figure out what works for you in that regard as well, because we are all different and different things work for different people. So then we have about 15% for an emergency fund. I've got their minimum 3 months of salary. It just depends what you're comfortable with. This came in handy for our family last year. My husband unexpectedly lost his job. It took him more than 3 months, quite a lot more, to find another job, because it was in the midst of all the COVID pandemic. But having that money really, really helped. So we are pretty lucky. We're pretty low on the debt scheme of things, so that we didn't have to worry too much about that. But having that money around to at least help support the family was really, really handy. Fun funds, like I said, so I put money aside for fun. That way you don't feel guilty when you want to go out and do something, or you go out for a night with the girls or the boys, or friends night out kind of thing. So it's very important. Then there's children funds. So if you want to save for your kids, depending how old they are, we've been saving for our daughter since she was born. And it's been, we actually invest it, so it's steadily growing. There's a certain structure that you can use that's a bit simpler and more tax effective. I won't go into that today, because that's getting a bit too much. But it's important. So the problem we're going to have is how to help her understand the value of money and have a work ethic. So it's going to be a problem. It's going to be something we need to think about and plan for as well. But it's going to be really nice to have that money there if she does want to do tertiary education. I don't want her to start out her professional life or her working life with a huge debt to repay. So we've made the decision to see her through all of her education, primary school, high school, and tertiary. So that money is going to help with that. And obviously incremental, little by little, you get to the point where it doesn't feel like a burden and you don't even notice it. Like it goes, regularly, and it's built up quite a bit, which is nice. Investing. While the focus is definitely to get your debt down first, especially high interest rate debt, you do want to still build wealth. So, and investing is the only real way to do that. There are micro investing apps, so you can actually benefit from those. I opened an account they were called Acorns, they're now called Raise, and it's literally just roundups. So every time I spend something, it rounds it to the nearest dollar, puts it aside, and then once the account is built up to an amount, it invests it. It's been going now for, I think, about 4.5 years, and I've got over $4,000 sitting in there. and I've done nothing literally except connect my bank account and credit cards to this thing. And it just ticks away on its own. It invests it. I don't really do anything. I don't add. You can add to it if you want to. I've chosen not to because it's been a bit of an experiment, to be honest, just to see what happens. And so it's quite remarkable. And that's $4,000 I would not have had otherwise. It would have just kind of whittled away here and there. It's like change in your pocket, only it's earning money. And doing something more beneficial than just sitting in your pocket or sitting in my dad used to have these jars that he just put all these $2 and $1 coins in, and that obviously deflates in value. So that's the money pie, and helping with saving and structuring. I know there's a lot of information there, so feel free to watch this again. I would highly recommend that you just dedicate some uninterrupted time to doing at least that budget planner, just so you can see what your current situation is. And just start saving. Just even if you, at the beginning you're not entirely sure what you want it for, just put it away because you will find something for it. Trust me. So I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, you can contact me via my website, money-madesimple.com.au, which you'll see on the screen. And yeah, I hope this has helped you out. Bye.